Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 21 of Pat's Nation Nightly. I'm Zach, as always, co-hosted by Ben. Ben, happy Friday. How are you doing?
Happy Friday. I'm good. It's a busy time of year for us high school students. Lots going on, hence why we haven't been filming a lot this week, but have no worries. We have a jam-packed show today, which includes a 53-man roster breakdown. And before I go any further into this show, I just want to show my Celtics hat. Last time we talked, I think it was only like game 1 or game 2. Either way, going to the finals again, trying to secure that 18th banner. So that's exciting. I think game 1 is on Thursday next week. Is that correct? Something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, today, Zach and I, like I was just saying, we're going to go through each position group. And I don't know how long it's going to take, probably around 30 to 45 minutes. And we're kind of going to do our first glance at a 53-man roster breakdown. So starting with the quarterbacks, I guess we'll get right into it here. We have Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. I would say those two are pretty much locks at this point.
Yep.
Unless an injury happens, they're locks. And then we have two players who could get that third quarterback spot, could be a practice squad option in Joe Milton, the 6th-round draft pick, and Bailey Zappi, the third-year quarterback. We started a few games last year. Obviously, we all know how that went. So between those two quarterbacks, I would say, is that third spot.
Yeah, I think Milton gets the roster spot, and it could just be a two-man group, but you drafted him for a reason. And Elliot Wolf said, especially about Milton, that the talent was just too much to pass up on. And so they had him graded as a 4th-round guy. You know, they took him in the 6th, and quarterback wasn't necessarily a position of need at that point, but the talent was too much to pass up on. So do the Patriots think Joe Milton is way more talented than a 6th-round pick, and because of that, he'll make the roster? We'll have to see, but I do think that is how it's going to shape out.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and the only thing I would add to that is in these OTA practices, again, the OTA practices, it's, not nothing set in stone at this point, and you still have a bunch of guys who are veterans who are skipping for various reasons. It's interesting to see the snap breakdown, right? You have Jacoby Brissett leading the charge, then you have Drake May, and then you have Bailey Zappi, and that's the only reason I kind of point this out is Bailey Zappi is taking pretty much the same amount of reps as Drake May is. He talked to the media yesterday or 2 days ago talking about how, Mayo said it's anyone's job. Obviously, Bailey Zappi isn't going to be the starter week 1. I think that Joe Milton, they find a way for Joe Milton to stick around on the practice squad. But if another team claims him, I think that'd be a pretty big mistake. It's like if another team gets Bailey Zappi, I wouldn't be as mad as if another team got Joe Milton, just because you have the potential, right? And Joe Milton, you've seen Joe Milton, although Bailey Zappi was a 4th-round draft pick and Joe Milton was a 6th, you've seen what Bailey Zappi can do. You kind of have not seen what Joe Milton can do yet.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, why would you keep Bailey Zappi? Like, there's no real reason to, besides, he's a backup quarterback, but for the most part, you want your backup quarterback to have a very similar skill set as your starter. That way, if need be, they have to come in and they have to take over. You don't have to change up the entire game plan. So, if you're projecting Drake May to be the long-term starter as he should be, why would you keep Zappy? Because Milton has a similar game to May, and that's who they should and likely will see as their long-term backup solution. So, yeah, I just don't see a reason to risk losing Milton in favor of keeping Zappy. Zappy, has played decently well when he's gotten the opportunity, and it's nothing off the charts, but as a backup quarterback, it's very impressive. But still, there's just no real reason for him to stay specifically in New England. Maybe they can get a trade done, maybe for a 7th-round pick, but if not, I would probably have to cut him.
Yeah. I'm glad we could agree there. There's definitely going to be some discourse between us, I think, on later position groups. But we have Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, and Joe Milton in no particular order. So those are 3 players. So we are down, if my math checks out, to 50 players left.
Yep.
Moving on to the running backs here. Talking about kind of just a reminder of who exactly are the Patriots running backs at this point. Of course, you have Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. Those are my 2 locks to make the team. And then you have Kevin Harris, you have Keyshawn Vaughn, you have Jamichael Hasty, Jamichael Hasty, and then you have Deshaun Fenwick. And Deshaun Fenwick is that rookie. Keyshawn Vaughn, veteran. Hasty, veteran. Kevin Harris, of course, coming back. I think it's for his 4th year. He's kind of reminding me a little bit like J.J. Taylor, just sticking around here. But so my 2 locks are Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. I think the Patriots go 3 running backs just because they have so many talented receivers, and I think instead of 5 this year, they go 6. So my 3 running backs, just pointing it out, is going to be Ramondre Stevenson, who's going to be that number 1. He's well-rounded, explosive, everything you need in a running back. Then you have Antonio Gibson, who just adds a little more in the receiving game, pass protection, and third down situations. And then I have Kevin Harris making the team just because he's a 2022 draft pick. He played pretty well the last 2 seasons, okay for a 3rd running back. And I think those other 3 running backs will all have a shot during training camp to make that roster.
Yeah, I was going to give the same group. For me, like you said, obviously, Ramondre and Gibson are locks. I was between Harris and Fenwick, and I would lean towards Harris. I'm glad that you agree. Again, that is probably one of the easier position groups for the Patriots. But yeah, I'd go with Ramondre, Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, and Kevin Harris for the running back committee.
Yeah, and the Patriots also love keeping running backs on the practice squad, running backs and tight ends, and linebackers. But so I think Fenwick, who's a guy who's a rookie, I think he has a good chance to stick around on that practice squad. Moving on to the next position group here, we have the receivers. This is going to be a fun one to talk about because there are just so many. I don't want to say talented, but they're not bad either. It's just like middle of the pack wide receiver twos.
The Patriots. I would say they have a lot of wide receiver 4s. Like,
all right, 2 was being a little generous. I agree. 3 and 4.
Kendrick Bourne is a wide receiver 1 or 2. Pop, same thing. But like once you get to the guys who are going to get cut, there's a lot of wide receiver 4s, which makes it a difficult decision.
Correct. And everyone, it's not just like these are wide receiver 3. They're all so close in production that it's going to make it really, really hard. And I'm really looking forward to heading up to training camp this summer and just seeing who stands out, right, to the eye. Because if all these guys are so close, I mean, training camp, this is the time for them, one of these guys to separate. Just talking about locks from this position group right now, I have Kendrick Bourne. He's going to be a lock. I have Demario Douglas. I think he's going to be a lock. I have KJ Osborne. I think he's going to be a lock. And then the two rookie wide receivers, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, I think those are locks. I mean, I don't know if you agree, but I think that's 5 receivers right there. So for the last spot, we have Jalen Reagor, Keyshawn Boutte, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Quan Baker, and TJ Luther, all vying for that last roster spot.
Yeah, it's really tough. Again, I completely agree with the locks. I've been pretty strong on the Tyquan Thornton train. I think that he has shown some flashes, and especially like during training camp, where I still have more confidence in him than I do in a guy like Rager or a guy like Juju. And especially after seeing what Taekwon did this offseason, where he was seemingly working basically every day with Kendrick Bourne, with Demario Douglas, even Bailey Zappi, and also just put on body armor. I mean, he bulked up, which he obviously needed. So that would probably be my wide receiver 6. But Juju also has been convincing me a little bit over like OTAs, and maybe it's some blind confidence and just optimism because he's on such a not massive contract, but way bigger contract than Rager or Thornton are. So he seems to be better now and definitely healthier. We'll see if it kind of stays and if he can put up a good fight to make the roster. But for me, it's between Taekwon and Juju, and I think that's also a pretty unpopular decision because Rager has been very good or was very good in his role last year. So it's definitely very tough.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say is Rigo just provides that extra value, right, on special teams. But it's so tough. I mean, I think just narrowing it down a little bit. I think Keyshawn Boutte, TJ Luther, Kawan Baker. I think they're all gonna have definitely a difficult track to make this team. I think it would be between Juju, Rigo, and Thornton.
Yep.
For that last roster spot. You bring up all good points on the 3 of them. It's tough. What do you think Thornton? You think Taekwon right now?
I like Taekwon. So with Rager, right? It's like he has that special teams boost, but Marcus Jones is going to be back. The Patriots have looked like during rookie minicamp and OTAs so far, they've been experimenting a little bit with Jalen Polk back there returning. I don't know if that was just punts, but maybe they would do the same with kickoffs. I would have Thornton. I think the more realistic option is Rager, but in my opinion, I'd rather have Thornton.
Okay, so I just put in Taekwon Thornton for that last receiver spot. That brings us up to 3, 6, 15 players, and with 3 position groups in. Moving on to the tight ends here. This is going to be a kind of fun one to talk about, at least. I think we're on the same page, but I'm not quite sure. I think Hunter Henry, one of the biggest locks on the team to make the roster just after signing that big extension. I think Austin Hooper has a good chance to make it. That 3rd tight end spot is going to go to the 7th round draft pick, Jaheim Bell. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as wide receiver or tight end 2 by the end of the season, just because of how versatile he is. He's going to fit right into this Alex Van Pelt new offense, who, David Njoku and those versatile tight ends up in Cleveland were so involved in. I think Jaheim Bell is going to shock a lot of Patriots fans, players, everything, because he's going to be someone who can get the ball in his hands and then get that yards after catch. So my 3 tight ends would be Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and Jaheim Bell.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say Bell, in my opinion, has a better chance than Hooper of making the roster. and I do agree with you that both will make it, but Hooper's only on a 1-year deal. The Patriots showed a ton of interest in Jaheim Bell in the pre-draft process. So maybe in some reality, Austin Hooper could get cut, and it could open a door for a guy like LaMichael Petway, who was elevated, signed from the practice squad last year up to the 53-man roster towards the end of the season. But I would still say it's more than likely going to be the group of three that you named, with Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and Jaheim Bell. So yeah, I agree.
Glad we agree on that. That's 3 more. So now we have a big position group to cover, the offensive line. Oh, really quick, before we move on from the tight ends, I just would mention that LaMichael Petaway, Jacob Warren, and Mitchell Wilcox would all be out at that point.
Yep.
Talking about the offensive line here, usually the Patriots like to keep 10 or 11. Right now, I think they should keep 10 just because I would rather an extra defensive back or linebacker on the defensive side. So I'm going to have 10. I think Chukwuma Oguafu is going to be up there. I have, of course, Strange, but that's someone who's not a lock to make the team, and especially because he's still battling that knee injury. He might not be featured into this offense until the end of the summer. He's not a lock to make the team right now. I have David Andrews, Siriso, Michael Wenu as a lock, Calvin Anderson on the edge, Drake Andrews on the edge, Nick Leverett on the edge, and then Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson, both of them are going to be locks, which leaves out Vidalian Lowe, Tyron Wheatley Jr., Andrew Stuber, Zuri Henry, who's a rookie, Michael Jordan, not the basketball player, Antonio Mafi, and Charlie Turner III.
Yeah. So interesting to note with Cole Strange. What is I don't remember it off the top of my head. What is the new injured reserve rule for the preseason?
I think if you get placed on the injured reserve during the preseason, wasn't it last year and prior years? If you got placed on the injured reserve during the preseason, you're out for.
Yeah, but they changed it this year.
They did. Let me look it up right now. One second.
So my thinking is that with Cole Strange, or I believe they changed it this year, but Cole Strange is projected to miss at least the beginning of the season and potentially into the middle of the season. So I would think he would go on IR. He had a pretty solid year last season, so I just don't see a reason to cut him. If there is the possibility of putting him on injured reserve and bringing him back. So then for everyone else, I mean, it's a massive, massive group, but obviously, oh yeah, you got it?
Yeah, I have it up. Okay, so previously, if teams had to keep their injured players on the initial 53-man roster to be eligible. If they wanted to place him on the injured reserve in the preseason, he was ineligible to play for the rest of the season. So if a team were to place one of these injured players on the injured reserve in the preseason, he would be ineligible for the rest of the season to play. Now, teams can place up to 2 players on the injured reserve, or the physically unable to perform list, before cutting the roster to 53 players, and they will still be eligible to return to the active roster. So they have 2 IR spots in the preseason that they can kind of store 2 players on, and they can return at a later point during the season.
Yeah, so would you agree with that thinking of Cole Strange on IR to start the year?
Yeah. I think, and that frees up just in case another roster spot for this. So then, just give me your 5 OL locks so we can narrow it down a little bit. So David Andrews,
City So,
Michael Wenu,
City So, Chooks,
Layden Robinson, and Caden Wallace.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then we can add Chooks too.
Chooks, cool.
So that's 6, I think, right?
Yes.
So that, let's say we have 4 more, not including Cole Strange, who will be placed on the injured reserve, presumably,
Yep.
predictably. So that's 36. So then the last 4 spots are going to be between, we have Calvin Anderson, Jake Andrews, Nick Leverett, Andrew Stuber, Vidarian Lowe, Tyron Wheatley, and Antonio Mafi. I think those are the most
Charles
likely.
Turner too.
Yeah, and him.
Yeah. Ryan Johnson. Yeah. I would say Nick Leverett.
Okay.
I think he is, I believe, gotten some starting looks in OTAs, if I'm not
And
mistaken.
I'm going to add Jake Andrews just because you need that backup center.
Yep.
So then you can have the final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
You
6,
have
7,
two left.
8, 2 more. So who are the last 2?
God, I'm looking at the roster. It's tough. I think you gotta go Mafi. You think?
Okay. No, I'm
And
fine with
then
that.
probably Vidarian Lowe. Or
Over
actually,
Calvin
no,
Anderson.
I would say Calvin Anderson.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I go Calvin Anderson
I'd
for
go
that
Calvin
last spot.
Anderson. Yep.
And I'm just highlighting some of these players who would be the last 3 on, last 3 off type
Yep.
situation. Okay, so that's 10 offensive line. So we have the whole offense figured out in our 1.0 roster prediction. Now moving on to the defensive line. The Patriots usually keep anywhere between 6 and 8 players on the defensive line to start the season. My locks, this is a heavy locks for me. There's, I think, 4 out of the 7 that I have are going to be locks. And actually, maybe we only do 6 defensive line. I want your opinion on this. I think
Mhm.
Christian Balmer is going to
Yep.
be a lock for sure. I think Devon Godchaux is going to
Yep.
be a lock.
I agree.
I think Dietrich Wise is going to be a lock. I don't think he's going to be cut like one of those veterans who gets cut at the end of August and surprises everyone. I think Keon White is going to be a lock.
Yep.
And I think Almond Watts, the free agent pickup, is going to be a lock. So that right there is going to be 5 locks for me. If we want to keep 6 on the roster, you have to pick between Daniel Olukle, Sam Roberts, Jeremiah Farms, Will Bradley King, and Tristan Hill for that last roster spot.
Yeah, I agree with those first 5, and it might be a group that we end up having to come back to towards the end, if to see if we have 1 or 2 extra roster spots, because I don't know if it's a group that you necessarily need another guy or another 2 guys there, but if there is the roster space, I wouldn't hate adding in Sam Roberts or adding in Jeremiah Farms Jr. I think that those would be solid moves and are probably pretty close to being like one of those last 3 off. Hopefully the Patriots could get them back on the practice squad if they do have to get cut. But yeah, I would probably keep it at 5 for now.
I was just about to say, so we'll keep at 5, and we'll kind of go back to that position as we go. Next
Yep.
up, we have the linebackers. The Patriots, again, usually keep between 6 and 8, 9. I'm going to maybe go a little further because this is a little more depth of a group than the defensive line. As my locks, at least, I think we should on the same page for all these locks. I have Jawan Bentley,
Yep.
Matthew Judon, if he's not traded. That was a joke. I think he's going to stay. Although I did see there was lots of talk with him being traded. Jelani Tavai is another lock. I have Josh Uche as a lock.
Yep.
I have Sione Taki as a lock. And then my final lock goes to Moti Mapu.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that just gives off for you to decide between Anthony Jennings, Christian Ellis, Raekwon McMillan, John Morgan III, a rookie, Jonte Hunter, a rookie, Jet Bush, a rookie, and Joe Giles Harris.
I would say Anthony Jennings is a lock. I mean, he just got a
Oh, I
3-year.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Just got a
Yeah.
3-year deal.
Yeah. I forgot he
Uh,
just got that new deal.
so yeah, I would say he's a lock. This is kind of interesting. Just looking at the Patriots roster right now, um, who do you think is the only outside linebacker listed on the roster? There's only one. Everyone else is listed as a linebacker or defensive end.
Let me think. Is it someone we named?
I don't think so, but it might have been.
Is it Raekwon McMillan?
O'Shane Ximines.
I don't even have who?
I might have butchered the pronunciation, but O'Shane
Yeah,
Ximines.
I think you did.
Um, Ximines.
Yeah.
Ximines.
I was not gonna get that.
Um, yeah, I just think it's kind of funny that out of Matthew Judon and Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, none of them are listed as outside linebackers, but they did for him. But yeah, so what did Jennings put us at 6?
No, 7. I think
7?
we leave that and come back to that because that's 7.
Yeah, I'd say
All
so.
right, I'm looking 7. This is gonna be a fun one to talk about. We got the defensive backs, or more specifically right now, the cornerbacks.
Hmm.
There's a lot of locks in here, but then as we get to the end of the depth chart, there's a few, possibilities for people to sneak in during this training camp period. I have Gonzo coming back, Christian Gonzalez, number 0, as a lock.
0. Yep.
I have Jonathan Jones as a lock. I have Marcus Jones as a lock. And then I have Marcellus Dial as a lock.
Hmm.
Now, I have Alex Austin as a very probable. He's not a lock, but I think he's very probable just on the way he ended last season.
Yep.
And then so after Alex Austin, if we add him, so that's gonna be 5, and then they usually take 6. So let's just say between. Oh, we can always have 8. This can always be more. We have Sean Wade. We have Isaiah Borden. We have Marco Wilson. We have Ozzie Hearn. We have Mikey Victor, who's a rookie. And we have Caleb Fort Dement, who is also a rookie.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Bolden. I thought he
Me
was
too.
having a really good training camp and preseason last year before, unfortunately, he had that injury. And I probably would have had him on the roster last year. I've said it a few times in previous shows, but I think he would have barely, but would have made it last year. And this year, after getting pretty much a year to just develop, learn, and all that good stuff, I do think that he'll end up making the roster as that 6th cornerback. So
Sweet.
that's mine for sure.
So that's 6 cornerbacks. So now going to the safeties. I honestly want to say, I mean, either 3 or 4 safeties, but I think Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, both of those are locks. Then you have between Joshua Bledsoe, Jalen Hawkins, Brendan Schooler, and Del Pettis, who's a
Yep.
rookie. I want to say my safeties are Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, and Brendan Schooler, but I mean, that's up to you to also decide.
Yeah, safeties are tough. I wouldn't. Brendan Schooler's listed as a safety, but he's not. He's
Yeah, I know. He's not.
he's a special
Yeah,
teamer.
he's a
Yeah.
special teamer. I'm just saying.
So
I mean, I like Bledsoe more than I like Hawkins.
yeah, I was gonna say Hawkins, but I do. I think you need another one there. First of all, now we did have Marte Mapu in already, and Mapu is listed as a
As a
safety.
safety, yeah.
Um, but I see him more in a linebacker role. Uh, I think they need one more, whether it's Bledsoe, Hawkins, Pettis, maybe, but you can decide which one. But I do think that they could use another.
Okay, so we can add in Jalen Hawkins and then Brendan Schooler, of course. So that is gonna be 4.
Hmm. Works for me.
Sweet.
What does that put us at?
Can you bring out your Well, let's do special teams, then we can add them all up. Because
Okay.
I haven't been keeping track in my head. This is too much math. Okay. I think these are all locks. I have Bryce Bryce Behringer as the kicker. I have Joe Cardona as that long snapper. And then you have that kicker competition. The Patriots just went out and got a veteran. You have Chad Ryland. You have the Canadian kicker, Vincent Blanchard, who received a camp invite. What?
Joey Sly.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant by the veteran, Joey Sly. I think Joey Sly is going to beat out Chad Ryland. That's just my opinion.
Really?
I don't know. What do you think?
I would have had Ryland. And yeah, obviously last year was difficult, but I do think that he has the talent, he has the potential, and you can have him, just have him on a short leash. Joey Sly will probably make, if he gets cut, you can more than likely get him back on the practice squad. So if Chad Ryland comes out week 1 and he misses a 30-yarder or he misses a extra point or whatever, then that's when it's time to part ways. But the Patriots aren't going to be, let's be honest, they're not going to be the most competitive team this year. So you can get away with having a more high upside, high risk kicker because you can just take the gamble on him and hope that that he can develop and hopefully be like the next big kicker. And you don't really have to worry about him losing you games because in the grand scheme of things, this season, it doesn't matter. And if anything, it might even help you a bit.
Okay.
So I would have Ryland, but it depends a lot on how he performs in training camp, of course. That's a huge competition.
Okay, that's fair. We'll have Ryland on there. Can you bring out your calculator so we can see what we're at? There's no way we're at 53. We might be. I don't think we're higher than 53. I think we might be a little.
Yeah.
All
right.
Tell me when you're ready.
I got it.
All right. We have 3 quarterbacks.
Yep.
We have 3 running backs.
Got it.
We have 6 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
We have 10 offensive linemen.
Yep.
We have 5 defensive linemen.
Got it.
We have 7 linebackers.
Okay.
We have 6 cornerbacks.
Yep.
We have 4 safeties.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 3 special teamers. Let me guess.
Don't we have another because we had 3 safeties plus Brendan Schooler?
Yeah, I counted 4 safeties. I put Brendan Schooler in with the safeties.
Oh, you said 3. Did we end up putting in Hawkins?
I said we have 4 safeties.
Oh, I thought I heard 3. My fault. All right.
So what are we at? 52?
48.
No, we're not. Are we
48.
really?
Unless
wait, do it one more time.
Something.
Do it one more time.
All right.
3.
Yep.
Plus 6.
Okay.
Plus 3.
Yep.
Plus 10.
And yep.
5.
Do you miss tight ends? That's what it is.
No.
Yeah. Quarterbacks, backs, you miss tight ends.
Oh, I did miss tight ends. Okay, that's my fault, guys. Sorry. Okay. All right. So that makes more sense. So that's 3 tight ends, so 51. Yeah. So we have 2 more players. Okay, fine. 2 more players. So we said we'd go back to the defensive line really quick. So I think you got to put on Daniel Elukle.
Okay. Yeah.
What? Equality. I knew. Yeah. Equality. Yep. Equality. I think you have to have him on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like it.
Okay, so that's gonna be. Now we have 1 more player. I think linebackers are good. I think the defensive line is good. Do you want to add another O-lineman? I think the receivers are good. They don't usually carry 4 running backs. You don't really carry 4 quarterbacks. What do you think?
It's a tough choice.
We can add another cornerback, but I don't think. I mean, you
Yeah,
got six.
I'm looking on defense, and it's a pretty well-rounded group. Like, there's no one that that they really had to cut that I'm gonna lose sleep over.
I
And
think
this is going to change because over training camp, I don't think we had
yeah.
I don't think we've had a single undrafted free agent make the roster in this. In over training camp, that's going to change. But
I like another O lineman. I think a
I'm
left.
gonna say Charles Turner.
I was gonna say that. That's funny. That's so funny to say that. Okay, LSU. Love
Yeah,
it.
I
Okay,
like it.
so that is gonna be our 53-man roster. We'll post this on Twitter. I will make an Instagram graphic. One of us will make a graphic. We'll post it on Instagram and Twitter later today or tomorrow. Just going back really fast before we wrap up here and kind of looking at a glance here. I think we both think that Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback to start. And then Drake May will be the backup. Then you have Joe Milton. Ramondre Stevenson is going to lead that running back room with Kendrick Bourne, the rookies, and Demario Douglas kind of taking charge of that wide receiver room. Douglas led the Patriots last year with like 560 receiving yards, something like that. For a rookie, that was a record. For not a rookie, I mean that's pretty bad. But again, you had a lot of injuries last year. No more Devontae Parker for the first time since 2021.
Hey, and thank you, Devontae Parker, for retiring and giving the Patriots a little
Yeah.
bonus cap space. That was very kind of him.
That's awesome you mentioned that. I forgot about that. And then the 5 starting linemen, if we're not including Cole Strange, I think it's going to be David Andrews at center. You have the tackles in Mike Owenu and Caden Wallace right now, and then inside City So and Layden Robinson. That sound right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you have obviously Christian Barmore and Keanu White leading that defensive line with Juwan Bentley, Matthew Judon, and Joshua Uche. Joshua. Sorry, he wants to be called Joshua now. Joshua Uche in the linebacker room. Gonzo is going to be cornerback 1, but I'm excited for these other younger guys, Marcellus Dial, Alex Jones, Isaiah Borden specifically. Then you have the safeties with Kyle Duggar coming back, Jabril Peppers, and then obviously it rounds out with the same 2 rookie punter kicker duo coming back in Bryce Banjer and Chad Ryland. As Zach was just saying, this is obviously TBD. This is the first, real roster track breakdown. I might want to do this every maybe 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. Every NFL team now, they changed it from previous years. There used to be like specific deadlines. You had to get down to 80 players in the second week of August. Then you had to get down to 71 players. Then you had to get to 60. Then you had to get to 53.
Yeah.
Now it all happens on one day. It's going to be cut down day.
Chaos. I love it.
It's going to be a ton of guys getting cut at once, which it's going to be one of the most difficult days to be an NFL player. I mean, can you imagine 30 guys getting cut, more than 30 guys getting cut from each and every team? They're out of jobs, so it's not something to take lightly here. We appreciate you guys for listening. Zach, any last closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for listening. The 126 of you tuned in. Thanks for taking some time out of your Friday evening to listen to us talk about the Patriots. So we'll be back on Monday, probably.
Next week should be a little bit more normal for both of us.
Yeah, this week was busy with schoolwork, but again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you all on Monday.
Where can they find out about the show?
Let me show them.
Yeah. What time? Like, I don't know.
There we go.
All right, sweet.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram at Pats Nation Nightly, on Twitter, Pats Nation Night. Like we've been saying for a while, I think once we get up to I want to say 500 followers, maybe we do a little something special. I don't know what it is, but let's try to get up to 500 followers on Twitter. Let's say by
End of
middle.
training camp.
Yeah, end of training camp. Perfect. 500 by Twitter. Thank you guys, like Zach was saying, for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you all for listening. Have a great night.